Welcome to the Touch MBA Admissions Podcast. Do you need help figuring out which schools to apply to or how to get into the world's top MBA programs? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others on this podcast and on our site, touchmba.com, as they seek the admissions edge. And now, here's your host, Darren Joe.
Hey y'all, it's Darren here, and welcome to the Touch MBA podcast, where we interview admissions directors from the world's top business schools. We talk to students that have gone through these programs, and we bring admissions experts on the show to help you figure out which MBA programs fit you best and how to get in. This week, I spoke with Sachin Tipnis from the HKU MBA. HKU is Hong Kong University, one of the most prestigious universities in Hong Kong and in Asia. I think this program's really unique. It has a structure that I've never seen before, where students spend 1 month in Beijing, then 9 months in Hong Kong taking their core classes and some electives, and then the next 4 months in either London Business School, Columbia Business School, or Fudan University in Shanghai. So it has this really unique structure. HKU also has a dedicated Asian Case Research Center. So students really get to learn about how MNCs and Asian companies are expanding and operating in Asia. I think you'll get a lot from this podcast. Sachin and I really go deep into HKU's admissions process. And I think Sachin just has a lot of smart things to say about what you need to do before you apply to business school and what you need to do during business school to succeed. If you're not sure which MBAs best fit you, and you also want to get some feedback on your profile and how competitive you are, go head over to touchmba.com and we'd be happy to help you out for free. That's right. If you just tell us a little bit more about your goals and your background and what you're looking to do, we'd be happy to give you a free expert evaluation of your profile from an admissions point of view, as well as best fit school recommendations. And you can also share your profile, if you choose to, with close to 10 top business schools around the world. So go check that out at touchmba.com, and let's get straight to the episode. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our next guest. Sachin Tipnis is the Executive Director of MBA Programs at the University of Hong Kong. And Sachin actually graduated from the HKU MBA in 2004. He started his career in advertising. He has many years of experience in marketing, communications, and of course, business education. So Sachin, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the Touch MBA podcast.
Oh, thank you very much, Darren. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about HKU. So my first question that I ask in every episode is, what makes the HKU MBA unique from other top MBA programs?
Right. I think the starting point is really our structure. If you look at our MBA, it doesn't even start in Hong Kong. It starts in Beijing. The whole idea is that we believe that most of the students are coming to Hong Kong, coming to this part of the world to get connected with the Asian economy. And within the context of today's world economy or Asian economy, we all know the importance of China. And we believe that giving them on-the-ground training about the business culture of China, how companies operate there, what's the culture out there, the language part of it. I think all these things cannot be just taught by giving them a case study or a book. So that's why our MBA starts in Beijing. They spend about a month in Beijing trying to understand on-the-ground realities of doing business in China. And also it brings together the whole class, in a more casual atmosphere. Thereon, they move to Hong Kong. And then they spend about 9 months in Hong Kong. And during these 9 months, the focus is on Asia. What I mean by that is we try to do cases, we try to have a lot of teaching material, which is multinationals operating in Asia. And Asian companies now becoming bigger and bigger. They are truly becoming multinationals. For example, when you look at LVMH, their biggest market now is Asia. So our focus is how are they operating in Asia? Let's look at any other company, say Google or Microsoft or Amazon. the way they operate in Asia, the business model has to be very different than probably they're doing in Europe or US. So our focus tends to be on that part. We look at Asian phenomena, like if we are talking about entrepreneurship, we look at Jack Ma. We see how he built Alibaba. We look at companies coming out of China, Japan, Korea, India, and see how they are becoming truly multinational. So that's their first their 9 months in Hong Kong. Then we believe world is interconnected, global economy is interconnected. So this is great, this is good, but at the same time, they also need to understand what's happening globally. That's why our students will go to London Business School or to Columbia Business School for 4 months. They will study with the students of LBS or Columbia. And this experience of going to either London or New York will further enhance their understanding about international markets. And then they can connect the dots by looking at what they learned in Beijing, what they learned in Hong Kong, and then what they learned in New York or London. We have another track, which is go to Shanghai at Fudan University. So for those who truly are looking for a very in-depth China knowledge experience. So when you look at our structure, it's pretty unique. It's pretty different to many other programs around the world.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely unique. Could you explain a bit more in terms of the process of how that works? I mean, for example, let's say I'm really interested in studying at Columbia. Do I have to apply to be able to go there, or how does that process work?
It's actually not an exchange program. So that's really a big differentiator factor. You see, what happens typically in an exchange program is that you start your MBA, and then there are some 40 or 50 schools you can exchange with. And then you apply for those exchange. Then depending upon your MBA performance, depending upon the demand and supply, and of course, the exchange has to happen. So the other school has to also send a couple of students back to your own original school for that exchange to happen. But in our case, the students can choose which track is the most suitable track for them, London, New York, or Fudan in Shanghai at the application stage. And then during the interview process, we will try to understand how that track is aligned to their future career growth and to what they're trying to achieve through the MBA. And then when they enter Hong Kong U, they exactly know whether they are which track they are going to. So I think that's a big differentiator.
Okay, so you have to declare your track from the beginning.
Yes.
Got it. And then how does that work in terms of the transcript and certificate? Like when you graduate from HKU, does it say, HKU MBA with Columbia or with LBS? How does that work?
Okay, so the degree, the MBA degree, the Master of Business Administration degree is from the University of Hong Kong. And all the courses, what you have done in Hong Kong, you'll get a transcript from Hong Kong U. And then the courses, what you have done in Columbia or London or Fudan, you'll get a transcript from London or Columbia or Fudan. And also, on top of it, you get a certificate of attendance from either London, Columbia, or Fudan, whichever track you have been to.
Got it. That's crystal clear. And then as an HKU MBA, you have access, obviously, to the HKU MBA network. But what about the networks of, say, Columbia, LBS, or Fudan?
Yes, you do have access to that because you do get kind of an affiliate alumni status, which means that you would be able to dip into the network. But, Darren, I really believe that network is up to you how you build it. If you are spending 4 months, one full semester in London, Columbia, or Shanghai, and if you are a truly a MBA student who understands the virtue, the importance of network, you will find your way, whether it's official or not official, to meet the right kind of people and to expand your base. But at the same time, from our side, we want to provide this great platform, this kind of, so that the students are able to really have a nice global network through the different places they visit.
Yes, I mean, I think it's an absolutely unique structure, as you mentioned. I've done many of these podcasts, and I haven't seen a program that has this structure.
That's right.
And so, speaking of the networking aspect, how big is the class each year? How many students?
Our full-time batch is actually quite small. We only take 60 students from all over the world. Now, if one is looking for a class which has 500 people, we are not the MBA for them. Okay, but if one is looking for a class which is close knit, where from the MBA office to the professors to the career service office, knows you by name, by background, then our MBA kind of fits in those people. Network, I believe, is not about your immediate class. It's not even about the business school. It is at a level of the university or even higher where the location of your place is. Let me explain that. So, yes, your immediate class, your full-time class is 60 people. But then the way our MBA is structured, when you're doing your courses in Hong Kong, all the electives are a common pool of electives for our part-time MBA, which is more like an executive MBA, and our full-time MBA. So that means our full-time students can meet up to 300 of our part-time students who are senior executives working in and around Hong Kong in regional roles. So that's their natural big network, as to say so. Okay. At the same time, Hong Kong U is not a standalone business school. It's got 10 faculties, and we are very famous from law to medicine to social science. So the whole university, because it's about the sense of belonging to Hong Kong U, and Hong Kong U being a traditional 100 years old university, it has that a lot of those values. Darren, what I'm talking about. So whenever you go, you meet somebody, he or she might be from engineering faculty, but then that connection of Hong Kong U works beautifully. And then on top of it, you're going to London or to New York or to Shanghai, which helps you expand your network. So that's how we work on in terms of providing a credible network to our students.
I actually, when I was an undergraduate, I studied abroad in Hong Kong. So I took my classes at CUHK, but I studied under a professor of political science at HKU. I know, having lived in Hong Kong, how prestigious HKU is, but could you just explain to our listeners, a little bit more about what HKU is best known for, and perhaps as well why you decided to go to HKU, right? Because are you from Hong Kong?
No, I'm not, Darren. I'm originally from India.
I think our listeners would love to hear why you decided to go.
Sure. I think it's really my own decision is based on what Hong Kong U stands for, the reputation, this whole comprehensive university advantage. I will tell you, when I was searching for MBA schools, I shortlisted Hong Kong as a destination because about 11 years back, I thought that the future would belong to Asia. And that within that context, Hong Kong would play a very important role, given its very unique position. Once I decided on Hong Kong, I decided to kind of ask around my colleagues who were working in the Hong Kong office, some of the people I knew in Hong Kong. And I asked them one simple question. I told them, forget about the business school. Just tell me, if one had to go to a university in Hong Kong, which would you choose? And overwhelmingly, I mean, it was absolutely nearly 100%. People were like, hey, has to be Hong Kong U, has to be Hong Kong U. So for me, that reputation, that sense of belonging, that having that kind of a credibility was very important. Because at a program level, ranking comes, ranking goes. But reputation is built over a period of time. And I really believe in that. I mean, coming from a strong marketing and branding background, I knew that the importance of reputation, and which is built over a period of time. And I thought Hong Kong U was really fitting in quite well in those terms. So this comprehensive university advantage, I think, played a very important role. And that continues to, I think, play a very important role in our development of our MBA program.
I'm sure. I mean, how else would you have been able to get those partnerships with those, great schools? And so in terms of the business school, what is HKU best known for, in terms of academics or industries?
I think when you look at our business school, I would say that the DNA of Hong Kong surely is financial services. So that would be an important part of the overall what the school stands for. So it's definitely finance, economics would be the two major pillars, to say so. What we have seen in the probably last couple of years or last 5 years or so, that strategy, consulting are the two another areas which are getting stronger and stronger. So I would say that nearly 50% of our student body would still go in financial services, the broad spectrum of financial services, with strategy, consulting forming another major part, and then followed by marketing, which is luxury marketing, consumer marketing, That's also a very big part in this part of the world. Retail. So that would form the big picture.
And what is the student culture like? I mean, you've been through the program, you've seen it grow year after year. How would you describe that culture?
I would say, Darren, we are very collaborative. And that is really reflective of what the market is today. I think those days are really gone when companies and organizations were looking for these very individualistic superstars. Now, more and more companies are looking for people who are culturally sensitive, who can work with a very diverse set of people, who have understanding about each other and who can contribute to each other's success. So for us, if you ask me, I would say collaborative. I mean, that's the culture we want to absolutely develop in our business school so that each student contributes and each student grows with the contribution of his or her classmate.
And you made that decision many years ago to say Asia and China is going to be really important in the world economy, and I want to be a part of that. Right. So I want to study in Hong Kong. Why should candidates get their MBA in Hong Kong? And I guess what I'd like to get at here is maybe some common misconceptions or things people should know about Hong Kong.
Sure.
When they're deciding about where to study.
Right. That's a very good question. Really, I think location of your MBA plays a very important role. So if you want to work in, say, Frankfurt or Amsterdam, there's really no point coming to Hong Kong to study. I'm really direct about it, very honest about this. I think those who are looking and have passion for Asia, who understand that this is the place I want to be, this is the place I want to work and make my career, Hong Kong really offers a great base. Couple of reasons. I mean, when you look around in terms of number of MNCs headquartered, I mean, Hong Kong is one of the leading places in Asia. It's a regional hub. One of the reasons why students want to do MBA is career progression, right? And part of career progression is to move from their national markets to a more regional international market. And Hong Kong exactly offers that platform. Just to let you know how the job market and the economy is connected, one of the ways to judge is to look at the visa regime of that place. Hong Kong is one of the only places now which offers 1-year visa to all the students, whether they have a job or they don't have a job. That's quite a big thing in today's time, where even if you have a job, you probably cannot get the work visa in a particular country or a city. But in Hong Kong, I think we still have a very liberal system. I think that shows a lot about the confidence we have in the economy and the need of talent. All these government policies and visa policies are connected to what is the need of the market. So when you connect all the dots, you realize, wow, Hong Kong can be a great place to be in. It's an international city and it offers a great lifestyle. It offers a regional market. It offers you a work visa. I mean, what else you look for? One of the misconceptions is to do with language. A lot of people tend to think that maybe not knowing the local language will play a barrier as such. I don't think so, because we have seen nearly every year, nearly 80% of our class getting jobs in Hong Kong or in the region, Greater China region. That's a very high percentage. And mind you, most of our students come from outside Hong Kong for full time. So, which means that there's a large portion of students who don't have the language capabilities. Year by year, every year are getting jobs opportunity in Greater China. That wouldn't be possible if there was language barrier. Yes, language plays an important role in a certain type of jobs. But then again, MBA jobs tend to be more regional. They tend to be more a little bit of a certain type, which are connected to different markets and of a certain position and a caliber. And I think for those jobs, language is not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to talk about that more when we talk about jobs. But just quickly, which jobs should students know do require Chinese language?
I think consumer marketing jobs it would require. Definitely, if you are trying to be a marketeer in a local environment, then definitely knowing the local language is very important. So that would, I would say, maybe some consulting job which requires you to take care of the clients in mainland China. probably will require language requirements. But other than that, again, I mean, the same consulting companies and the same marketing companies are looking at international students for regional jobs. And they will probably look at people who have the language skills for a little bit more localized job. So there are ways and means where the companies also balance their human resources requirement.
And one more question about your curriculum, because I know you mentioned you have that 1 month immersion in Beijing and that you do have a focus on management in China and management in Asia as well.
Right.
Could you just talk a little bit more about that advantage of in the classroom and I guess outside the classroom?
Definitely. I mean, see, content is a very important aspect as to what kind of cases, what kind of articles, what kind of material the professors are using to tell our students or kind of give them education about this part of the world, about the Asian context. So we
Yep.
probably are one of the only few schools which have a dedicated case study research center. It's called Asian Case Research Center, ACRC, which develops Asia-based content. So it would be multinationals operating in Asia, or it would be Asian companies now becoming multinational and how they have expanded. So I can give you many examples. So say there could be a case on Sony and how Sony is kind of trying to regain its market share, right, and how Asia plays an important role in their future market strategy. Or we can look at Citibank and see how Citibank has used the online banking platform very successfully in Asia. Okay. Or we can look at, say, Tata, the company from India, wherein we showcase how Tata was able to buy Land Rover and Jaguar and how they have made it into a profitable business. And again, where Asia plays an important role in this growth. We can look at Uniqlo and see how Uniqlo is becoming one of the fastest retail company coming out of Japan. So the content we use will define the Asian context. On top of it, the way we do our admissions is that we make sure that 50% of our class is from Asia. So that would mean from Japan, Korea, India, China, Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam. So that would form the 50% of the class. And another 50% would be from US, Latin America, Russia, Europe, and so on and so forth. So this balance also creates a good environment wherein there are people from Asia who are able to contribute to their classmates. So this is how we manage the Asian context.
Well, I appreciate you pointing out those different types of case studies, to give our listeners a feel of what they might be studying in class. And let's transition to the next segment, which is about admissions. Of course, this is one our listeners are really paying close attention to. So I guess, first question here is, what are the fit qualities you are looking for from your applicants?
The first and foremost is they have to have a passion for Asia. I think they really need to understand why are they choosing Hong Kong U. Why are they coming in this part of the world? Why are they coming to Hong Kong? Why are they coming to Asia? And that's why having an understanding, having a context to the Asian growth story is very important. Okay. Second, as I said, we are really looking for a collaborative culture. So they need to have this ability to give and take both. That's the best way one can collaborate and contribute and at the same time grow together with their classmates. Third thing is diversity. We are looking for diversity not in terms of background or countries, diversity of thought process, diversity of what truly they can bring to the table. So I think that's also kind of a very important aspect. There's no longer diversity in terms of passport, because that's a very old concept. I mean, schools still are harping about we have people from 20 countries, 25 countries. I think it's more to do with what one individual person gets in. I mean, there are so many examples where a person is born in country A, went to do undergraduate in country B, work in country C. How do you define this person? From country A? That's really not right. So we are looking for really this diversity of thought process and what experience they bring to the table. So I would say these are the three very important aspects what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. It's just easier to use passports as a marker of diversity, but I completely agree with that. And one question I had in terms of specifics is you list you're looking for a satisfactory GMAT score. So I have to ask, what does that mean?
Okay, satisfactory GMAT score means that means the other factors for admissions would play an important role in deciding what would be a satisfactory score. Let me just explain to you a little bit about our admission process so that it's because it's connected. So we look at four factors. Okay, we look at your previous education experience. What university did you go to? Is there any specialization you achieved? What kind of subjects did you study? Then we look at your work experience. I mean, work experience in terms of which company you worked for, what was your role, what was your growth, did you have some leadership role, or did you do a good enough job during your work experience? And then the third factor we look for is, of course, the interview, because the interview plays a very important role. We interview each and every candidate who can get into Hong Kong U MBA. So the interview plays a very important role, and the interview is conducted exactly like a job interview, where we are trying to understand who this candidate is, what their aspirations are, what have they done in the past, where they want to go, and so on and so forth. Connected. So once we have this clear picture about what this person is all about and what this person can bring to the class, then we decide, okay, what kind of a GMAT score would be a satisfactory GMAT score? Of course, we are looking for a minimum around 600. I mean, that I would say would be a good starting point. But again, we have taken people with a lower GMAT score, and we have rejected people with 770 and 780, because the other 3 points did not fit in. So that's what I mean by satisfactory, because that means this GMAT will be connected to the other 3 points, and then we'll form an overall picture to see what GMAT score is suitable for this particular candidate.
Interesting. So I have to tease that out a little more. So first of all, your average is about 660, is that right?
Every batch to batch it differs, but it will be between 660 to 670.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I love this process, right? But then when would, for example, someone be able to have a lower GMAT score, and when would a higher GMAT score be expected in general cases, right? Because of course this applies to each individual differently.
So you mean at what stage?
Yeah, so for example, if someone went to, let's say, a lesser known university or has a lower GPA, then you'd be expecting a higher GMAT,
I think
right?
Exactly, Darren. I mean, one of the admission aspect has to compensate for another aspect. Okay, so yeah, possible that somebody didn't go to a very reputed university, but probably then that person worked for a great company and had a great career growth. So that's how we look at. Or maybe this person went to a great university, but at the same time was not able to take the career to the next level for some reason, and then had a great, very high GMAT. So we kind of combination of factors.
Yeah. And one other one that I see a bit more is a lot more applicants have started taking that CFA exam. And that's a good thing, right? If they've passed 1 or 2 or 3 levels of that.
Yes, I mean, master degree, CFA, CPA, they all add to the whole personality, or I would say the whole application package of a candidate. We do take it as a additional kind of qualification. So it definitely is preferable if some people have done something extra, like languages. I mean, I really nice to come across people who know 3 or 4 different languages. And if you ask me as to, hey, what should the candidate bring it out in their CV or application, I would say, if you know languages, if you have traveled around the world, if you have done something different, put it there. Just love it.
That's a great tip. So I just want to highlight that languages, experiences abroad and with different cultures. Yeah, traveling.
Yeah, having worked with different regions, or having worked with a very very broad category of set of people. This is great because it brings out a different personality of a person.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to your whole thought process. That's kind of what you're looking for. And so you mentioned the interview is really important. So let's talk a little bit more about that interview. Could you let me know who conducts the interviews?
So the interview is conducted by with the admission committee as such. So it would be maybe some professors, it would be some people from career services, and definitely there'll be at least one person from the program team because there has to be some consistency. So, for example, I will try my level best to be there for each and every interview so that is one common factor. That is important, Darren. Otherwise, what will happen is that there would be different parameters or yardstick used by different set of people. I think that is what happens in a lot of schools. There are 20 different people, 30 different people doing interviews. I do understand that this is necessary when the numbers are huge. Okay, we also have huge application numbers, but then I think it's important for me as the executive director to be involved absolutely and fully in the admission process. So I would be the common factor, but at the same time, there would be people from admissions team, from the admissions committee team comprising of the professors, and also from career services, so that we get a nice view of a candidate.
Great. And you mentioned that it's very much like a job interview. So could you be a little more specific in terms of what applicants should expect? Will you be asking, behavioral interview type questions or case studies or,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The first stage interview, the first round interview is really based on the CV. So it is based on what they're doing, their work experience, what have they achieved, and then we get into very specifics about their job, how they have done, what were their challenges, and so on and so forth. We also test out in terms of their thought process on current affairs, business affairs, and so on and so forth. So the first round is that. Second round, we give them a topic. It could be very current topic connected to their job, connected to their experience, or connected to the country they come from, or the background or the regional context. And we give them this topic maybe 3 or 4 days in advance, and then they need to make a presentation to us,
Oh,
a
interesting.
15-minute presentation. So it's a two-round process.
Oh, that's really interesting. So that 2 round process takes place over, say, a week, or is it all during the same day?
No, it's over a period of 10 days or so. So the first round happens, then we will decide out of those who would go to the second round and who we probably cannot offer this year. And then those who go to the second round will get a email from us with the instructions and the topic. And then we will have interview after 3 or 4 days. So that gives them enough time to prepare. The whole idea is to see one, how much passion they have, how much interested they are. Some people will really prepare well, some people will not prepare so well. So it's a great filtration process, I would say.
Oh, that's really interesting. And I think that, presentation skills are so important. And so I think that's really, I'm sure it's nerve-wracking for the candidates, but it's important for you guys to suss that out. Yeah, any tips there for the interview? Maybe some common things or common problems you see or things you would advise applicants when they're preparing.
I think, one of the most important thing is that you need to do your own research about the program fit. What I mean by that is there are many good programs in Asia, in the world. Okay. It's really up to the candidates to decide which programs they can shortlist few of them fit them well in terms of what are they looking for. Everybody's purpose of doing MBA is different. Okay. There is no single formula to it. And that's what students have to understand. And then they need to match the strengths of the school, the offering of a particular school with to see if what they are trying to achieve through the MBA can be achieved in that particular school. So, and once they do that, I'm telling you, in the interview will flow because they are well prepared. They know this is a good fit. And then the schools will also have a kind of a more comfort level with those who are well prepared. So I think spending some time trying to figure out that fit is very important. Most of the students try to do that fit after they get an offer. And I think that has to change. People should do the shortlisting of which schools to apply based on that fit. Not after you get the offer, then you're trying to figure out, whether this fits me or not. Because you've made so much of effort, you have put in a lot of effort, the school has put in a lot of effort. So it will be nice for students to do that fit much earlier, it will benefit them to get into the school which is the most suitable school for them.
Yeah, and that's a indirectly, what I'm plug for what I'm trying to do with Touch MBA
Right.
is just that, I think figuring out which schools fit you best is half the battle. Everyone's concerned about getting in, but if you can pick the right 3, 4 schools to target, you're gonna have a better chance of getting in just because and it starts with knowing what you want. And I know that's hard to do when you're so busy with work, but I highly advise you to spend at least 1 or 2 months at the minimum, thinking that through. Okay, one other question, or a few more questions on admissions. So you have an interesting process. So you have rolling admissions, but you have an early round deadline that just passed in early November, and you have a first and second round deadlines, right, in end of December and February. So you have both rolling and these like first and second rounds. So could you explain, how that works? And
Of course, the early and the first round deadlines, what we do is that we do have rolling basis, but at the same time, we will adhere to those deadlines. In that sense, what we will do is we will put those applicants together who have applied in whichever, oh, let me put it this way, in whichever box they have applied, early, the first or the second one. And then within that context, within that box, we'll have a rolling basis. So that's how we work on.
I see. So by rolling, okay, so rolling admissions is if I apply really early, let's say I apply in September, then I hear back from HKU earlier, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but I'm batched together with all the other applicants that apply in the early round and so forth. So would you advise, yeah, so what are the benefits of applying earlier?
I think less competition, as simple as that. Because what happens is that the later you apply, there are less seats available. So that means the probability of getting in is going down. So earlier, it's always better because that means all the 60 seats are available, technically speaking, for you to get in. So that's how it works.
Got it. Okay. And then in terms of your essay, so you have one essay, I believe, and it's kind of like a statement of purpose in a sense. Like, please provide, a statement explaining why you're interested in doing the HKU MBA, why you're suitable for it, and the value of the MBA program to your future career. And I think we've covered a lot already in terms of what you're looking for here. But in terms of length, because you don't have a word limit there, so, is it okay if someone writes 3 or 4 pages about this? Or, what would you prefer? What are you looking for here?
Statement of purpose. That means it's a statement of purpose. It's really not an essay. So that would mean that a page or two would be the best way forward. I mean, the longer you write, the longer the admission committee might lose you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Again, it's one of the ways to judge whether you are articulate enough, whether you're able to put thought and condense them into a form that you're able to give or say what you want to say within a particular context.
Okay, so I'm hearing from you, err on the side of brevity.
Absolutely.
As opposed to length.
Absolutely.
There. Okay, great. And would you have any last tips for our listeners in terms of how they can improve their chances of admission?
As I said, I mean, the starting point is really to try to figure out what are you looking for an MBA. You're right that maybe it might be difficult sometime, but hey, that's where connecting with alumni, people who have done their MBA, connecting future employers through friends, through families, through their own connection is important to get a judgment about what MBA can do and how your career aspiration or aspirations can fit in with that. So trying to get a feel of why you're doing MBA is important. Second step would be, again, choosing the schools which can be then connected to why you're looking for that MBA. I think this together will really make the chances of you getting into a particular school better because you're more aligned to it. Second, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, they don't realize the value of knowing extra languages or, having traveled the world and such kind of a little tidbits which add to who you are. Even say somebody's running their own podcast, or somebody has done publications, or somebody is a blogger. Include that in your application package in some form or other. Or you're a photographer, you've taken some great pictures. Include that for us to get a perspective about who you are. And I think these are some of the things I would say that candidates should be doing.
No, that's such a good tip. And when you're looking for those more multidimensional candidates, you're not looking for. I'm putting words in your mouth. You correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not looking for, say, someone who just took a photography class for 1 month. You're looking for someone with a sustained,
Absolutely.
Interest. I'm not saying you have to be, shooting for National Geographic,
Right.
but maybe you've been doing this for 3-4 years and it's like your favorite hobby. This is the sort of thing you want to see, right?
Exactly. I mean, again, connected to that is, don't just put traveling, and then when the question is asked, say, so what's your favorite destination? How many places you've traveled? And you're like, I've been to 2 or 3 countries. I mean, there has to be a passion. There has to be, like, if you tell me you put traveling there and that's your passion, and how that has kind of put a different dimension to your personality, then I'm expecting that you've traveled to 20, 30 different places, So a little bit more deeper experience. But then if you have that, put it. Don't be shy. Don't try to hide it. In fact, put it there.
Yeah, so I think the key point here is it has to be a part of you. Because that's what you're looking for as an MBA program. What is this person's identity and what are they really into? If it's just a superficial thing, that's different. Great. Okay, so now if we could talk about financing, can you let us know what percentage of your class gets scholarships and what your average scholarship amounts are?
Right. Again, we don't have a fixed scholarship number as such. We just look at the applicant pool for that particular year and then decide, okay, wow, this set of people look good. So there's no, but on an average, I would say about 20% to or so will get a scholarship. We are not a very scholarship driven school. Some schools are probably giving 100% class. All the people in the class are getting some amount of scholarship. We are not, so we're talking about 20-25% of the population. And at the same time, the number, the value is around probably at the maximum about, again, 20 to 30% of the tuition fee.
Got it. When do you reward those scholarships,
It's parallel to admissions. Because when we have gone through the whole process of admission, okay, from the application to the interviews and then making an offer, the offer will be, okay, admission only, or admission plus scholarship, or sorry, please try next year. So because I think it's very important, and it is the fair way to do is that the candidate understands whether he or she has got the scholarship or not got the scholarship, so that they can make a well-informed decision whether this MBA is something which I can comfortably finance it or I cannot. So that's why before they have to make a deposit, we will let them know whether they've got the scholarship or they haven't got the scholarship.
Fantastic. So those scholarships are rewarded along with the offer. And then, so can I assume that the things you mentioned earlier in the podcast, that's what's going to determine scholarship funding? So just to remind our listeners, you're looking at
your education background, your work experience,
work experience, the interview, and
GMAT. All 4
and
together will decide whether you can get a scholarship or not.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just, great. And then in terms of loans, can international students apply for loans in Hong Kong?
Unfortunately not. They have to apply in their home country.
Great. So I think that's, we cover the financing. And then now to my favorite part of the podcast, which is about careers. What unique career and recruiting advantages does HKU have?
I think a couple of years back, we changed the way our career services works. So as you know, in most of the schools, the career services comes at a later part. But what we decided that career services should be part of the curriculum. So our career services pretty much starts from day one. So our career services team even comes with us, with the program team, they come with us to Beijing to try to understand who our students are, what are their thought process and all that. And then when they are in Hong Kong, we run, the first part is we run many workshops, we run the mentorship program, coaching, one-to-one coaching. We provide them, interview practice, and we provide them a lot of industry knowledge. We really prepare, train them, and then we bring in many companies. And that's the advantage, again, being in Hong Kong, because there's so many companies headquartered in Hong Kong. It's so easy either for our students to visit them or the companies to come to our campus for the recruitment. So I think making career services as a part of curriculum from day one is something which we have seen has played a very important role in our students getting good career opportunities, because it's not a cap on top of the dress. It is part DNA of the whole MBA program. So I think that makes a big difference.
And can students, because they're going to be going on their separate tracks, right, to Shanghai or New York or London, do they stay in touch with the career services team during this time? How does that work?
Right. I think our most important aim is to make sure that the first and the second round interviews and some of the offers are even made before they even fly to London, Colombia, or to Shanghai. So that's the first aim. And second, our career services office also arranges for the interviews in London, New York, and Shanghai, because all these multinationals have offices around the world, and technology is great. So they continue to interview their third or fourth round through Skype and such tools. And then probably once they are back, they do the final negotiation and start working.
Does HKU have particularly strong relationships with certain companies that consistently recruit from HKU?
Absolutely. I mean, we have some of the companies been recruiting for the last 8 years, 10 years or so. But at the same time, I think it is so important to keep looking at new avenues and new employers. Like, you will be surprised that one of the sector or one set of employers who are emerging as one of the biggest employers or recruiters this year are technology companies. And these companies are growing in this part of the world, and they are offering some great jobs to MBA students. And of course, I must also say PE and VC companies, private equity, is huge business in this part of the world. And this is something which we have developed in the last 1 or 2 years. But yes, traditional employers are very well connected to Hong Kong U. But at the same time, we are now connecting and expanding our services through the emergence of this new set of industries and companies.
Sachin, you went through the program yourself, and so what do you advise, your students when they come, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, they're ready to take on the world and do this MBA program. It's that first day, it's that day one in Beijing. What do you tell them in terms of what they need to do to really succeed in their career searches? And this is just to give our listeners an idea of what they'll have to do at a program like HKU to land their target jobs.
Right. I think one of the advices which I always give them is to work closely with the career services. I think career services is not a job agency. I think people really need to understand they have to partner. They are a great partner which the MBA, the business school, provides to the students, a great resource. But it's up to the student how they use this resource, how they use this partner, how they use their platform. So my advice is, understand what you want to do. Use CDO, the career services, as a platform to grow your thought process, to probably even change your direction. That's perfectly fine that you came up, you wanted to be in a particular sector, but over a period of the MBA, you realize that probably this is not the right thing for me. But the most important thing is to work closely, grow yourself, and then use career services as a resource, as a great platform. I think that way it's a win-win situation, so that the career services team also knows who you are, what you want to achieve. And the more information you give them, the more closely you work with them, the better they will be able to place you in terms of, which employer or what they're looking for, and so on and so forth. But if you just sit in the class and you don't interact and you don't connect, then how are they going to able to place you? So that close connection is very important.
And do you notice any similar traits or characteristics from your successful students in terms of careers and their approach, aside from partnering, like you said, the importance of partnering with the career services department? Anything else?
I think the students who have been probably most successful in securing good jobs are those who are kind of clear in their head about what track or what industry, or within that industry, what are they looking for. You can have your options, you can have plan A, plan B, plan C, but if you're able to have a strong concept of plan A, I have seen students really getting those jobs which they dreamt of, what they desired for.
Are there any last things that our listeners should know about HKU and careers and that whole aspect of the program?
I think we have covered everything pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
My only advice to students would be really do some research, get connected with current students, get connected with alums, and then you yourself figure out whether one particular school is the best fit for me. I think that is so important, because you will truly enjoy your MBA experience when you have done a little bit more homework and you know this MBA is fitting you. The strengths of the MBA program are exactly what you're looking for. And I think that's what the students should be looking for.
Yeah. How can our listeners connect with students and alumni?
I think in today's time is so easy. I mean, one is, of course, the whole online platform is available to you. Then there are blogs, and there are a lot of students blog, they connect with them there. I think there are a lot of forums where you can connect with the students. And at the same time, I think reach out to the MBA offices. Reach out with a clear objective as to, what kind of alum you want to get connected, what kind of a current student, maybe some matching of your background and that particular alum or current student would be much better, so that the MBA office can connect you.
One last question I had was about, it just came to me now, is about your the last part of your program when students are going to say LBS or Columbia or Fudan. Have you noticed any trends in terms of, why they're going to LBS? Is LBS stronger in something than CBS, than in Fudan? Because I'm sure that's something, when they're researching programs, would be helpful to them.
I think Fudan is very clear. It's for those who are looking for a very in-depth China knowledge. So that's one. But I think between London and Columbia, really, there's not much of a difference. I mean, both the schools are absolutely on an equal footing. They provide the same brilliant atmosphere. They have a great network around the world. I think then it depends a bit on the student's perspective about maybe London or New York as a city, or regions, US versus Europe. That's would be a bit of a kind of a difference. But otherwise, both these schools, they provide great platform for the students.
Great. Sachin, thank you so much for this conversation. I had a lot of fun, and I think our listeners will get a lot of value from this episode. So thanks again.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. It was really an enjoyable talk. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Touch MBA podcast. Don't be shy. We have a mailing list. Go to touchmba.com and get yourself signed up. And we'll keep you posted with the best tips and insider interviews on how to get into your number one school. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook at Touch MBA. See you soon.